Good night, everyone. Tonight, God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Michelle Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a word on tonight. And the topic going to be Jesus here just with a touch. Now, this story about two situations. The first one is the woman had an issue of blood for 12 years, referring to ministrated for 7 days, considered unclean. That anything that she lay on, sat on, it was just filled up with the unclean cleaning of the blood. So when she went everywhere. When she went to all the clinics, and no doctor couldn't tell her what was wrong. And she had to spend all her money, and still couldn't be healed. Nobody could not help her, So until Jesus came along, and this woman had a strong faith. So in this other story, this woman was crippled for 18 years. She was launched over, bent over for 18 years. Excuse me. Now she couldn't see nothing. She couldn't see nothing but her shoes for 18 years. This woman suffered with a spiritual infirmity, but will be free. Now the first story gonna come from Luke chapter 8, 42 through 48. The woman believed for 12 years. So now this leader, a synagogue, begged Jesus to come to his house, to heal his daughter, save his daughter that she's sick. So while Jesus was on his way to the leader house, a woman was there who had been suffering of bleeding for 12 years. So now this woman went to so many doctors. None of the doctors couldn't tell her what was wrong. None of the doctors could not heal her. So for 12 years she was bleeding. But then she heard Jesus was coming in town. She heard Jesus was passing by. So this woman had faith. This woman had strong faith. And she waited for Jesus. And when she went among the crowd, and she came up behind him, and she touched the edge of his coat, and immediately this woman blood stopped. Now remember, this woman was bleeding for 12 years. She went to so many doctors. Even tell me none of these doctors couldn't heal. All she needed was a touch from Jesus to be healed. And she also spoke words before she got here. She said, only if I can touch the hem of Jesus close, I can be healed. That's why Jesus had told her, you could go away. Your faith healed you. Because she spoke those words. And she didn't realize she was here at the moment when she spoke those words. Now Jesus realized that someone touched him. Because the power hadn't left from him. So everyone denied. Everybody said, no, I ain't touching you. I ain't touching you. So they all denied. Now Peter said, people are crowding around and they probably just press on you. That's what Peter said. Now Jesus said, no, someone touched me. So now we see the power of Jesus. The woman had faith. This woman had strong faith. Before she touched Jesus' clothes, she said, only if I could touch his clothes, I can be here. So she didn't realize that she spoke powerful words. Only if she can be here, she can be here. She was here before she even touched Jesus. So Jesus asked him, who touched me? So Jesus still trying to find out who touched him. So this woman, she was scared, she was trembling, but she finally came forward. But she see that she could not go unnoticed. So she came trembling. She fell down at Jesus' feet. And now when she fell down at his feet, she was in the presence of so many people. Jesus, when Jesus come in town, they got a crowd all around. So now she bowing down to his feet, and they got so many people around. She couldn't go unnoticed, so she had to say something because everybody else did not. No, no, I ain't touch you, I ain't touch you. So she couldn't go unnoticed. So she was in the presence of so many people, so she didn't want to tell Jesus why she had to touch him. Because, when a woman see a ministry, a month, she don't want to be telling nobody about that, but she had the courage. She had the courage, and she wound up and told Jesus everything of why she touched him. When she touched Jesus, she immediately has got healed, and immediately power had started leaving Jesus. So the power had left Jesus. So this woman was at Jesus' feet among all the people that was there. And told him everything, everything, of why she touched him, and how, you know, that she had been instant healed. And Jesus noticed that. Jesus, he noticed that the power had started releasing from him when she touched him. So Jesus said, your faith had healed you. Woman, go in peace. So this woman been bleeding for 12 years. No one could not find out what's wrong with this woman. Why is she bleeding? And all that long time she was bleeding, she was unclean. She couldn't pretty much go nowhere or touch nobody. In 7 days, nobody couldn't be around this woman. Because every time she sit down, blood just was everywhere. So she had to stay put for 7 days. So she didn't know that she spoke powerful words. She didn't know she spoke powerful words. That's why I keep telling y'all, your words are very powerful for the good reason and bad reason. We all have to watch what we say because the words are very powerful. She didn't realize the words that she said was powerful, that she was healed before she even touched the hem of Jesus' clothes. Only if I can touch his clothes, I can be healed. See, this woman got tired of bleeding for 12 years. She was at a breaking point. She was just overwhelmed. Every time she sit down, stuff everywhere. She couldn't be around people in 7 days. So she got tired of being in that predicament like that, So she heard Jesus was in town. And she had to hunt Jesus down. She had to be where Jesus was going to be at. Because she said, only if I can touch his clothes, I can be healed. And she touched Jesus' clothes. Not only she was healed, but the power started releasing from Jesus. So we see the woman spoke powerful words. Not only that Jesus told her her faith had healed her, but she spoke. She spoke powerful words, and she had a strong faith. You got to have faith, to be bleeding like that. And then you go among a crowd and you just go and touch somebody. See, these days you can't even go touch nobody these days. She went all through the crowd, all behind him, and she touched his clothes. She got tired. She didn't want to go another year of being in that particular like that. When she heard that Jesus was coming in town, that was her opportunity, to be here. And she did just that. So Jesus is powerful when you can touch him and be healed. Have faith that you are healed. When you speak the words, you got to believe and you got to have faith. You got to have faith. So now, this other story, Jesus going to heal a crippled woman. That's going to come from Luke chapter 13, verse 10 through 17. Now, a woman, this situation, this woman here, she was bent over for 18 years. All the people, in her community, they just pass her by. All this shit, just pass her by. Pretend like they don't even see her. Pretend like they don't even notice her. They just figure she had a disability and they felt uncomfortable and they won't be bothered with the woman. Just passing her by all these years. They wanted to stare at her. So they pretend not to notice her because they didn't want to stare. So now on the Sabbath day, you can't do no healing on the Sabbath day, but who gonna tell Jesus that? You know, so Jesus teaching in one of the synagogues, and this woman was there, you know, who was bent over. Now she at the synagogue while Jesus there preaching, you know, and he looking and wondering why everybody straightened up. She the only one was bent down, you know. So everybody pretend like they don't notice her. They always pass her by. But when Jesus come along, Jesus gonna notice you. You know, you're not gonna be an outcast. You know, because Jesus will notice you, and nobody else don't notice you. Jesus will notice you. You know, so it's on a Sabbath day. You know, Jesus teaching in one of the synagogues, and this woman was there who was bent, who was been crippled, you know, by a spirit for 18 years. You know, I don't know if she went to any doctors to find out why she was bent over, but she had an evil spirit on her that would cause her to be bent over, you know. And so the woman in the synagogue has spent 18 years, you know, being overlooked. You know, she was bent over like a question mark, you know, starting and staring at the ground. You know, she was bent over for so long, all she could see was the ground, you know, and her own 2 feet. That was it for 18 years. You know, so she couldn't see the faces. She couldn't even see her own face, you know, behind, she couldn't see her own face behind the words. But she knew the tone. Now she couldn't see nobody, but she know people voices and stuff. She know the voices, she know the tone, you know, because she could not see their face. She could not see her own face, you know. So she heard the people around her, but she could not see, you know. So while plenty of people was looking at her, and many looked the other way, you know, nobody didn't pay this woman no attention at all, you know, and I think that's a shame. You know, somebody could have asked her, you know, what's wrong? Could have helped her to go to a specialist to find out why you bent over, you know. So when everyone else pass her by, they pretend they don't see her. You know, people good for pretending like they don't see you, you know. But Jesus saw her. See, when people ignore you, people pretend like they don't see you, you know, and wait hours later to come say something to you. Oh, I said something to you. Oh, God, I didn't see you. You know, people go pretend like they don't see you. You know, they pretend like they didn't see her for 18 years. But it take only Jesus to pass by. You know, he will not overlook you. He will not unnotice you. He will notice you. He will see you. And he called this woman over. He called this woman over. You know, so everyone else passed her by, pretending like they don't see her. But Jesus saw her, and he didn't turn away. See, everybody else turned away. You know, but Jesus did not turn away. Thank God in Jesus that they won't turn away from us. You know, when everybody else turn their back on you, you know, they will not turn their back on you. You know, so he didn't, but Jesus did not pretend not to see her. Now he in a synagogue over here. She over there. And he noticed the woman just bent over. You know? So he didn't pretend not to see her. Instead, he spoke. And he spoke to her. You know, now this is on the Sabbath day. You know, when you can't hear no one, you can't do no miracles, no nothing on the Sabbath day. You know, but he perceived a miracle on that day. You know, this woman had become to be healed. You know, so Jesus called the woman and told her, woman, you know, you are set free from your infirmity. That means she had a bad spirit on her, you know. And sometimes you don't even know when someone can put a spirit on, because you got to be careful who in your surroundings, who come to your house, you know. So Jesus said, you are free. You are free from your infirmity. You know, Jesus took all that out of her. And when he took all that bad energy and everything out of her, she started strengthening up. You know, she started strengthening up. You know, so she was like everybody else in the synagogue, normal, you know, sitting up, you know. So, and then he put his hands on her. And immediately, this woman started strengthening up. And after she was strengthening up, she praised God. She praised God because this woman bent over for 18 years. you know, and she saw this man, Jesus came along. You know, Jesus came along. And all he had to do is put his hand on her, you know, strengthen up. She just started strengthening up, you know. Um, and that is you know, that is hurtful for her, you know, for her to be like that, and then her community, they just pass her by, you know. So then he put his hands on her, and immediately she just started strengthening up. So now we see another situation where Jesus put his hand on her, and she strengthened up, and she praised God. You know, so now Jesus said, "You is free, woman. You is free from your infirmity. Straighten up." You know, and she started strengthening up. You know, not only if I touch your clothes, I can be healed. And she was healed at that moment. You know, she spoke powerful words, and Jesus said, "Your faith had healed you." You know, and Jesus told the other woman, "You is free from your infirmity." You know, straighten up. You know, so the compassion that Jesus had is encountered with someone the world tends to look over. You know, the world tends to look over this woman. No one asks why you bent over. No one asks, do you need help? You know, they just tip on by, you know, pretend like they don't see her for 18 years. Just ignore her like she's not there, you know, and he just like Jesus said, you know, the nation will try to ignore you. And they'll ignore you like you don't exist. They act like this woman didn't exist for 18 years, you know. But Jesus had compassion on this woman. He saw her from a distance. He saw her bent over. You know, he wondered why this woman bent over, you know. And when he went to her, he automatically knew that she had bad spirit in her, you know. So now Jesus noticed her, and he wanted to see others' needs and not just pass by. You know, he want everyone to acknowledge someone that's in this condition like this here, you know, and ask if they need help. You know, ain't nothing wrong with just asking if you need help. You know, that all of us is God creation. You know, we are precious, you know, in God's sight. You know, when everyone think you are nobody, you know, God consider you as precious as silver and gold. You know, so don't never have a low self-esteem when somebody disregard you. You know, somebody just pretend like they don't notice you. You know, remember that God loves all of us. We are his creation. We are precious to him. We are like silver and gold to him. So when someone disown us, reject us, you know, remember we got a heavenly Father, a compassionate God that love all of us. You know, so we don't have to be a cast out, you know, because God gonna always make us feel comfortable in his comfort. You know, so all of us is God creation, precious in his sight. Now we have to see a human being and not a disability. Now see a lot of them in the community, they thought she had disabilities. So I mean they was uncomfortable. They didn't know what words to say to her. They didn't even know how to comfort her. You know, they figure she got a disability, and some people don't want to be bothered with disability. You know, so we have to respect disability and anyone in that condition, you know, and not be uncomfortable, you know. So now we see that people in her community for 18 years, they all just pass by. They always see her coming this way. Let's go this way. You know, she coming, okay, let's turn our head. They pretend, you know, pretend like they don't see this woman for 18 years. You know, so we all need to know that we are valued. Even the ones that bent over, even the ones that's in a wheelchair, you know, we all are valued. You know, so there are two stories that I talked about. You know, a woman bleed for 12 years. With a touch, she was healed. And Jesus said she had a strong faith. You know, now she also spoke words, only if I can touch his clothes. You know, she heard that Jesus was in town. You know, she went sit there and waited for him to pass by. They had so many people. You know, now she just went all behind people, all in a crowd, because in her mind, only if I can touch his clothes, just let me touch his clothes. You know, I can be healed. So she touched his clothes. She was healed. The blood stopped immediately, and the power left from Jesus. So we talked about that woman got healed. Jesus said, woman, your faith healed you. You could go in peace. So we talk about this other story here where this woman was bent over for 18 years, in a community, pretend like they don't see her, just pass her by, turn their head, nobody, everyone felt it uncomfortable, So no one never asked if she need any help. No one never asked her why you bent over, but Jesus came along and he saw her. Jesus will not turn his back on you. He will not look another way. He will help you. So Jesus saw her. Jesus first noticed her. And when he spoke to her, he said, woman, you are free. You are free from your family. Straighten up. And she started straightening up, straighten up. Now she could see her face. She could see everything. She could see everything, because of Jesus passed by. Jesus was teaching in that synagogue, and she was also in there, so she was there at the right place and at the right time. So now someone placed an evil spirit into this woman that caused her to be bent over like that. So so Jesus took that evil spirit out of her. And Jesus said, you are free from this here. So Jesus put his hand on her, and immediately this woman started strengthening up, straightening up. Now Jesus' powerful touch had healed 2 people. His touch stopped the blood from bleeding. His touch had strengthened up a woman, and they both heard that Jesus was coming in town. But the one that straightened up, she didn't hear that Jesus was coming in town. Jesus saw her. Jesus saw her from a distance. The other woman, she heard that Jesus was coming in town, and she had to sit there and wait for him to come, and went all in a crowd. All she wanted to do was just touch his clothes, and he was healed. So we see that both of these situations that Jesus is so powerful. All he can do is just touch you. All he can do is just speak words, and you'll be healed. But when he perceives those miracles, you have to believe, and you got to have faith. See, this woman here bleeding for 12 years, this woman believed, and this woman had faith. She said, only if I could touch his clothes, I could be healed. He coming in town, or where he gonna be at? I need to hunt him down. I need to sit there and wait on him. And she did just that. This lady bowed down to Jesus among all the people that was there. She had told him everything why she touched him. So we see that Jesus is a powerful man. In the time he passed by, just touch him. So we don't have Jesus with us, but we can still call out in the name of Jesus to heal us. And when we join that, we have to believe, and we have to have faith at the moment that we are here. So that's all the word I have for you on today. And remember, keep your faith. Anytime you're sick or in a situation, you pray to Jesus. And when you pray to Jesus for your healing or for anything that's going on, you have to believe and you have to have faith. This woman believed and she had faith. And Jesus told her faith had healed her. Jesus noticed this other woman had a spirit of infirmity in her that caused her to be bent over. Jesus said, you heal. He said, strengthen up. And she started strengthening up. And that's somehow Jesus can come along. And all he had to do is touch you and speak some words, and you'll be healed. Just that instant. So y'all have a blessed night, and I see y'all on the next video.